video, we discussed how to understand the data and connect the data using Google Colab. We used data files, the yellow cab data. In this video, we're going to discuss the next step. We're going to discuss how to do machine learning. So in this video, this is what we have done, and there is another video which is discussing about all these steps in detail, but in this video I'm going to quickly walk you through. So we got the data, we have to now split the data. So before even we do the data machine learning model, we have to split the data in 80 or 20% or 75 or 25%. This splitting is done so that we can train the data based on majority, let's say 80% or 75% or 70% of the data, and the remaining 20, 25, 30% we use for testing purposes. So that is what we are going to do today. So train data and test data is what we are going to split, and once we have split, we will use the training data set. We'll use the training data set to figure out and do the machine learning model. So train data, if it has a target, so we already defined the target variable, which was the fare. We wanted to predict the fare of going in Chicago from one place to other. So it has target. If it does not, then it will qualify for an unsupervised learning model, which we are not looking into this course. But if it has target, is it continuous or discrete? So if it is continuous, yes, then we will look at a regression problem. So the problem which we are doing, because it's a continuous meaning an integer number, it can take any value, and discrete means only certain classes. It's more on a classification problem. So my current data set is geared towards regression problem. So is it continuous? Yes. So now we have to train the model. So in this particular video we are going to discuss about the splitting data set, and then in the next video we are going to discuss about regression problem. Once it is done, then we will test the model using the test data set, and that is why we need that split. And once we have created the model and we have done the testing, then we will evaluate the model, how good the model is. So again, if it is continuous, then we will use RMSE, and if it is discrete, then we will use confusion matrix. Please note that here it means it's continuous or discrete, so I meant or. And then this is the basic, and then we will discuss about hyper tuning and feature engineering later. So now let's do a splitting of the data set. Let's look at the code. So from a coding perspective, we are going to use sklearn, which is scikit-learn dot model selection method, and then from there we are going to import the function train test split. So train test split is available as a function to be used, and this is going to help us doing a split. Remember, subset was our data frame in our previous video. We're going to touch back on that. Next, this is the command xtrain xtest. X means the feature variables. Remember those 7 variables which we had, and then train and test are xtrain, ytrain is a combination, xtest and ytest are a combination. Now it says train test split, subset of data frame, our data frame, and then we are going to talk about this comma random state. If you want to do a by default it is going to be 75-25% split, but if you want to do, let's say 80-20, you're going to use test underscore size or train underscore size. We're going to talk about it in a little bit. And finally, we are going to rename the columns, because I don't want gaps or spaces in my column names. So I'm going to rename both the xtrain and xtest columns. Trip under space miles, I'm going to say trip miles. All I'm doing is removing the spaces, that's all. And then pickup centroid latitude, I'm going to say piclat, piclon, droplat, droplan. Very simple. It is xtrain dot rename, and that's how you rename the columns. and finally I'm going to do a describe. So let's do it, and then we will see our hands-on exercises. So what you're going to do is you are going to make a copy of your earlier DIY, and you can see I have all the same steps, but I have added a section covered earlier. So I'll tell you a very interesting tip. If you want to add this subsection, all you need to do is double click and add one hash. One hash will give you a section like this, one hash covered earlier, and one hash prepared the training. And this you need to do in text. So there's a very simple way of subsetting, having proper comments in your code and sectioning it. So again, the same import Google Colab and drive already mounted, and then if you remember, we had df.head. This was in the previous video, so go in the previous video and check about it. Subset data frame we created using these columns, and then we created some plots. We don't need to look at that right now. I'm going to click on this and collapsed it. So from scikit-learn.model selection, import train test split. So I'm going to run this, and you would see that this, I have done nothing. All I have done is imported this package. Again, xtrain, xtest, ytrain, ytest, train.split, and if you hover over the mouse, it will show you what all options you have. To remember, train underscore size or test underscore size, and let's do a run. So if you look at it, I've printed the length, that means the size of the variable xtrain and ytrain. You would see that 18,947 records for xtrain. I can just add here so that you know what it is. So I'll say x underscore train, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the same for all. So you can see that xtrain and ytrain are the same length, and xtest and ytest are of same length. Now let's do 70% split. So all I need to do is add train underscore size equals 0.75. So if I run with 7.5, you can see the numbers did not change. That means by default it is 75%. I want to make it 80. It's between 0 and 1, the new number. So 8.8 is 80%. So you can see that the numbers change. So this is train underscore size or test underscore size. You can use any of them. For now, I am just keeping it default, which is 75%. Next, I'm going to rename the columns. So in order to rename, you have, remember I spoke about spaces. So all you need to do is put the column name, put a colon, and then give the new name, comma and others. Please note a comma at the end of it. And again, I'll do a describe, and you would see. So now I'm ready with 18,947 records for my training. Generally speaking, the training has always a larger data set as compared to test. Now let's do hands-on. So this point you can pause the video and understand the code, and then let's get ready for hands-on exercise. Okay, so hands-on exercises. HWDIY2, download the file yellow cab underscore. I think you have already done that in the previous one. Try opening the data file and then split the data using train test split function with 75-25 or 70-30 depending upon what you like. On your Google Drive, upload this file, and then you can refer to DIY2 and make a copy of code and execute, and then import necessary Python libraries and plot the graphs. So make sure you're able to plot the graph of xtrain and ytrain as we discussed in the previous video. So you should be able to split the data and then you should be able to import all the libraries required and plot the graphs of the new X train and Y train to make sure you're able to do the hands-on. Alright then, let's move on in the next video for training the model. We are actually gonna build the model. Thank you for watching.